Letters to You is a journey for me that started back in 2018. I grew up in the church, but that's when I really started to take my walk with the Lord more seriously. And so I went to the store, got a journal, and prayer was always one of those areas it was a little gray for me. And so I went back to my comfort, which was writing. And so I just began to write these letters to God every night. And after I would write them, I would read them out loud to him. And it started there. And before I knew it, I had a journal full of prayers. And one day I just heard, type one prayer a day. And I did that. And over the years, it has progressed to what it is now. And so, Letters to You is a sneak preview into those letters that I wrote, and it's an opportunity for people to be able to start their own journey and journal of prayers. There are so many prayers that I've seen God answer, but I will narrow it down just because of where I am in this time in my life in this season. And a lot of the prayers I write about family, my immediate family, but I also would write about the family I had not created. I would pray for my husband. I would pray for my children. I didn't know their names. I didn't know their faces. I didn't know when they would come, but I interceded for them even back then. And me and my husband have just made a little over a year since we got married, and I'm now about 4 months pregnant with my first child, a baby girl. And so just to see the timing of God, because like I said, these prayers were written years ago, 2018, 2019, 2020. And so to now be sitting here talking to you, living in some of the very things that I prayed about has been some of the things that I've seen the Lord, some of the prayers I've seen him answer. Letters to You is for anyone and everyone. When I began writing, of course, I was a teenager. I was younger. And even as I look back on some of the prayers, I do see how far, God has brought me and matured me in the area of prayer and even given me a deeper understanding of what it is at this point in my life. But it's for everybody. It's for young adults, it's for teenagers, it's for those who are in a place where prayer seems a little dry. They don't really know where to start. They don't know where to pick up. Because that's where I was. Even in my youth, I didn't know where to start. And so again, I fell back on something that was intimate, something that was precious to me. And it was simple. It was writing. It was writing, and I found it very helpful because I was able to get out everything that I needed to get out in that one moment of just writing. And so, of course, the images that you see is very colorful. It's very artsy. I wanted to definitely make it entertaining to look at and to flip through the pages, and you never know what you're going to get from page to page. But it really truly is for everyone of ages and stages, so no one's off limits. In short, Jesus Christ. That's my short answer. Having a relationship with the Lord has made much difference for me in all respects. There wasn't an area, and there has not been an area where I could not find him. Whether it was in relationships, whether it was in school, whether it was in dealing with family, dealing with me, usually dealing with me, getting to know who I was. And I would not have been able to do that without him. He is my manufacturer. And oftentimes I think it's easy for us to go to other sources to figure out what's going on. But just like you would do that with the car, you want to take it to the dealership. You want to take it to who created it, right? Because they understand every button. They understand every knocking of the engine. Because it came from them. And so being able to go to who created me has been all the difference for me. And so to give other people an opportunity to get to know him for yourself, because that's the biggest difference, is it has to be personal. It can't be through a pastor, it can't be through a church, it can't be through your parents. My parents grew up in ministry. I couldn't depend on their relationship. In 2018, I had to make that decision myself to say, I'm going to pursue you and I want to know who you are and who I am in you. And so even if that just started with a prayer, it started with a prayer. And it has transcended into my life in numerous ways. And so in short, I want people to get Jesus out of this. And I want them to begin to hopefully start a relationship, if they don't have one already, with him for themselves. It's a very nuanced question, but I would say that it doesn't always look the same. And what I mean by that is, again, in this season of my life, it was pen and paper. That was prayer. And when I was more comfortable in that area, I was talking to the Lord like I'm talking to you right now, on my couch, in the shower, creating a secret space in a secret place for him. And what it's also taught me is intimacy, the importance of intimacy, and knowing that he can handle me. I think sometimes it was difficult for me, at least, to show him everything, not just the good parts, not just the parts that sounded good, not just being thankful every time I spoke with him, but when I was angry and when I didn't understand and when there were seasons that did not make sense. And funny enough, even in releasing this book, I was going through that season where it was hard to pray. And it was hard to talk to him. And it was hard to write letters. And I even tried to go back and write, and it was still difficult, or it was inconsistent. And I just had to learn that in every season, whether I'm up, whether I'm down, it's the intimacy with God that he's looking for. And that's not always pretty. And that's not always going to look the way that it's preached, it's portrayed. And it's not always going to look perfect. And that is okay. And he's gracious enough and loving enough to accept all of it. And he already knows it's there anyway. And so there's no point in trying to cover up and make it look a way that it's not. And so just being more comfortable in that area of discomfort in prayer. I've learned that definitely more so recently as well. Yeah. I would say there was a conference I recently went to, and Cheryl Ray was a speaker. And there was one thing that she said that stuck with me since that. And that was, God is the gift that you will open for the rest of your life. Meaning that you can hear that he's a provider. You can hear that he's a defender and a protector and all these things, a healer, right? We hear these things, but we have to experience what it is to need provision, what it is to need healing. I was diagnosed with RA, rheumatoid arthritis, a year ago. I had to experience that to see him as my healer. We had to lose jobs in the home in the first year of our marriage for me to see him as a provider. And so sometimes we think we go through the fire and it's just, woe is me, woe is me, woe is me. There's many things in life that we can put that as the title of, woe is me, why me? Why do I have to go through this? But oftentimes it's so that he can show himself, he can present himself in the fullness of who he is. And so for those who purchase this journal, for those who don't, I will hope and pray that you would learn him in his fullness. Not just when he's good and when he's blessing you and giving you everything that you want, but also in those seasons that are fiery and that are hard and that are difficult. Because that's when you really see the solidification of your relationship with him and his love for you. And that he's not interested in your preferences, but that he's interested in his process of your life. So that's what I would hope for you in this journey.